Hello and good morning. Another day and another algorithmic update from Google. Today we have the December 2024 core update. We're going to go into a couple of the specifics of the algorithm. I already went in depth in my marketing and coffee video with Cornell last week. The link here is above. We visited a charming little city and we talked about the algorithmic update, the hardware updates, the AI, and all those different little things that come into place. But in this video, I'm going to connect the dots because as a Google partner, I just received an email here talking about clients that haven't taken the necessary steps to add conversion tracking. And this is very helpful for agencies because clients don't understand why they need this, and they understand they need this only at the very last minute. And a lot of advertisers are being affected by this. So this core update is on the search side of things, and it's heading into a completely different direction. I've been covering over the last year the helpful content update, and this has really been a big part of it. Google's moving very quickly with these updates each month, just like they had the Hummingbird and the Panda updates way back in the day to basically cut out all of the sweatshops that were producing content. That's what it would take to rank on Google then. And honestly, good content is what it takes to rank on Google today as well. But I'll tell you that getting impressions is easy. Getting click-throughs and reads on content is very hard. So what does this algorithmic update mean to your business? Well, as I said, over the last 12 months, there's been some steps here. Google is telling partners about conversion tracking. Google and Meta were also found to be working together on a secret project. Right? A little secret project here that was targeting minors and it wasn't authentic. And you could imagine that Google teamed up with Meta certainly have a lot of knowledge in tracking and building profiles and fingerprints on people. This is what effectively makes better advertising models and advertising platforms, because more relevant ads means happier customers and more relevant ads means happy advertisers. So this one is a doozy. They're keeping up with all the AI generated content that's coming out there. They're really making their search engine smarter. Because one of the algorithmic tips here, one of the hacks is like, oh, you can write all this algorithmic content and a new model drops. That model can detect the algorithmic content of the previous model. So it's sort of an arms race. You want to write 1,000 blogs for your website and a new model comes out like ChatGPT 5 and you're just going to go there and rewrite the articles. It's not sustainable. It's more sustainable to focus on the quality side of things and instead of the volume and this quantity side of things. So this algorithmic update is huge because it's moving very quickly, all right? A lot of websites, even ourselves, a year ago when we were first hit by helpful content, it wasn't that we were producing AI content, it was we removed a lot of pages that we thought weren't relevant, and Google said, those are actually pretty relevant, you shouldn't have done that. And we took the steps, right? It takes 6 to 12 months to rehabilitate your SEO. If you remove something that's working, very common. SEO is not a silver bullet. It's just one of your profit centers that you're going to focus on for the lifetime. Now, this helpful content update keeps rolling out. So they're staying on top of things. As long as you're focused on your content and you go into some of the ChatGPT algorithmic updates that I talked about, such as focusing on structured data, you can get more from a video here. It will at least help the search engines find you better, especially the ChatGPTs of the world. But ChatGPT is still fairly small when compared to Google. Perhaps it's even smaller than Bing in a sense, but they're integrated and intertwined. So I believe Bing and ChatGPT is pretty much it's an item now. It's a combined package. Now, when we're working with regenerative content, search engine optimization, it's important that your data is getting into the metadata of your website, and the schema is going to be easily found by search engine robots because Google is going to fundamentally shift from an index, which of course it's going to leverage, to more of a response engine. So it's not going to be a search engine, it's a response engine. It takes your inputs, turns it into code, and it comes out with an output. And as I showed you in previous videos, that ChatGPT can search Bing in real time if you trust Bing. That's a whole nother part of the equation that we're not going to go into today. This update's rolling out now. It's probably going to take a couple of weeks. We're already seeing some of our search engine rankings shuffling. November had us on page 1 for some Bing marketing services. Now in December, we're back to page 2, but we're seeing more of our services pages rank in the top 50, top 100. Like those moonshot keywords, that one keyword you want to rank for, which is very, very encouraging. So as long as you're on top of your search engine game, you have the keywords that you're trying to rank for, and you're plugging that into your dashboards, you can at least monitor effectively how much of this is definitely getting hot here. So I'm in Villajoyosa right now, which is one of my favorite places ever. What's really cool about this part of Spain that they never tell you about is it is heavily influenced by British expats and British tourists, so much so that in the 60s, Mick Jagger, John Lennon, and all of them would descend down here and they would play music and they would jam with locals. Major bands come here every single year on tours in heavy metal and rock and roll. So it's one of the surprising little gems here in Spain, because generally the Spanish aren't into that scene of music, the American rock scene kind of a thing, but they really take that here to a whole new level and really appreciate the music. So it's really cool to see that. Possibly something that you would see in like Argentina as well, if you look at the Rolling Stones and things like that. Now, I love it here and I love algorithms, so I want to tell you a little bit more that you need to keep your eye out. It seems like they're just making these announcements every single month. They're doing something, and it sounds like they're just patching it, right? Cornell had a great point in the last video that it's a software update. That's all this is. It's a little software update. They're making some changes here, and ultimately they're looking at ways to integrate their business model, their profit centers, their advertising, because Google can't just make the shift to this AI search. They've been testing it, but it's going to be radically different since we saw ChatGPT come out. And it's going to be so radical that if your website isn't capable of handling metadata and getting found on Google or ChatGPT, you're going to suffer a lot. So all of these experts are going to tell you to focus on your content, all the basic stuff. That's easy. You can figure that out. You can ask ChatGPT how to do that. There's no barrier of entering digital marketing anymore. There's no excuse to not be good at digital marketing. It might take some time, but there's definitely no excuse to be ignorant. I've seen some clients that are ignorant to marketing and they want to pass it off to different stakeholders, and it's a very easy subject. Very easy. If you can understand how a billboard works, it's the same sort of premise, but online. And a lot of businesses make the mistake of either investing in the wrong marketing or they invest too much in the marketing, which is why I would say the algorithmic updates are big, but remember, it's speculative. You can have an algorithmic update tomorrow. There could be a new search engine bigger than Google, which appears to be the case. Knock on wood for Google. They still have a lot of market share, but of course, these little guys can come nibbling and eating away at it. Make sure you are not only focused on your content, but also the technology aspect of your website. And these little brush strokes. So Google's doing something with conversion tracking. A few years ago, I talked about how Google and Meta and all the other advertisers were going to build an API that was privacy focused and consent. That never really materialized from them in terms of a tool that can install it on your website. They just give you the toolkit. You need an expert to install this. And if you do have very good conversion tracking installed on your website, you better believe the algorithms are going to be privy to it. Google says, nah, we don't do that. Well, we know Google does that. And the way you become a better marketer is make sure you dial in your website with the latest technologies that Google offers. It's going to give you some great insights, and you can plug it into Looker and build nice little dashboards. You don't need too much. You need a couple charts, couple numbers, couple scorecards, and that's going to be representative of what your business is doing. But of course, you need an expert to do this. This is why the Googles of the world are trying to work together to make it easier to onboard websites and get that information plugged into their algorithm so they can develop even better fingerprints and better models to advertise to, because they want to have happy customers everywhere. Their publishers are important, and their algorithm is just an algorithm, but without revenue, it's not much of an algorithm. So this is a sustainability thing too. And you better believe the footsteps they're going to take are going to be radical. So This might be something that happens in the next couple of weeks. We'll see a big shift in search engines, but I can't really predict when it will happen. We already know Google is behind. There are a couple steps behind the beat here when it comes to adopting UI and experience in search, or responsive search, or response search, whatever you want to call it. I don't like this generative search engine optimism. It's like you skipped over the S, guys. You were trying to add a G to it, but you kind of skipped over the S. I don't know, man. Like, that's the kind of quality you're getting from vendors that can't even come up with acronyms that are spelled correctly, which I mentioned in my last rant about 95% of marketers being terrible advisors to your marketing because they're going to cost you more money without the proper technology, especially now that Google is emailing our customers and us directly to prepare with the conversion tracking tag. And this is big. This is big. This is going to really kill third-party cookies. You have to live in a world where third-party cookies are already gone, and I truly believe that. If you depend on cookies, policy, you can see here in the European Union, policy really made cookies restrictive. That's why you have the GDPR, all those annoying consent banners. They came from here. To a certain point, I guess the idea is good, it's fair, it's ethical, but really, does that mean a business should take on the burden? In the beginning of the year, it would be $5,000 to $10,000 for a business to set this up. Now there's a couple of tools out there, and you can have this running between $50 and $100 a month to have advanced tracking and analytics and metrics. But you have to realize this. On top of your other fees, this is going to be another fee, and 99.9% of businesses don't realize how important this is at all. They have no clue. Not only third-party cookies are going to be the end of tracking conversions, we already saw that Google is keeping cookies in Chrome. And this is a good step for Google. However, there's going to be more websites that are just going to block more. They're going to come up with more blockers and clever things. Google can only ban so many extensions when you can just put it in developer mode and install that extension yourself that will prevent the ads from showing. These are all material things. You have to really follow the money on this one. Advertising, cookies, those are all incremental changes to their business model and profit centers, but they're also incremental increases in your costs. So stay ahead of these algorithmic updates, because at the end of the day, if your website is moving up in positions on Google, that's money in your pocket. Those clicks cost you money. Go to your Google Search Console if you've set it up and find out how many clicks you're getting, and find out what those clicks would cost you on Google. It's a great way for you to at least get an appreciation on what your website is worth. It's a way for you to at least dissect it to the point where, all right, this makes sense, this is actually worthwhile. Now, if you're prepared for all of this, that's great news. If you're not prepared for this, you have to leave me a comment and tell me whether it's sunglasses or squinty eyes, because it's really sunny here, and squinting into this and squinting in my script is not very good. So I want to get at least a pulse here in the comments below. If you're prepared for this algorithmic update, what's the one thing that shocked you truly, and how drastically you turned your results around? Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon.